We are live, Mataji.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Am I audible?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Humble obeisances. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha sindhubhye vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo. Hare Krishna. So, right, let's get started. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya naran chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye nashtaprayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatyuttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishthiki krishnaya vasudevaya devaki nandanaya cha nandagopakumaraya govindaya namo namaha. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Soyam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे नमो महावदान्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधाकांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। सर्वशास्त्राब्धि पीयूष सर्ववेदैक सत्फल सर्वसिद्धांतरत्नाढ्य सर्वलोकैकदृक्प्रद सर्वभागवत प्राण श्रीमद्भागवत प्रभो कलिध्वान्तोदितादित्य श्रीकृष्ण परिवर्तित परमानंद पाठाय प्रेमवर्ष अक्षराय ते सर्वदा सर्वसेव्याय श्रीकृष्णाय नमोऽस्तु मे मदेकबन्धो मत्सङ्गिन् मद्गुरो मन्महाधन मन्निस्तारक मद्भाग्य मदानंद नमोऽस्तु ते असाधु साधुतादायिन् अतिनीचोच्चतारक हानमुञ्च कदाचिन्मां प्रेम्णारत्कण्ठयो स्फुर श्रीमद्भागवत महापुराणम की जय। Hare Krishna. So welcome all of you in today's session. Because of not keeping well, I couldn't take the last session, so we missed one session on Monday, or rather Tuesday. But today we will continue. And today I wish to uh, cover part of discussion on first verse. We might need two sessions for first verse, and then uh, one session each for verse second and third, and then rest of it in one session. That's it. So that's how the planning of the first chapter would be. So in today's session, let us discuss some background for Bhagavatam and also some substantial discussion on first verse. So before we proceed, you see, if you see Srila Prabhupada, he has named the first canto of Bhagavatam as creation. I'm just sharing the screen. So you can say this is, I hope my screen is visible. Yes? Yeah, thank you.
Yes, we will.
So, yes, thank you. So you can say Canto 1 creation. So now, if you see, Bhagavatam has 10 topics, right? Sarga, Visarga, Sthana, Poshana, Uti, Manvantar, Ishanukatha, Nirodh, Mukti, and Ashraya. This is described in second canto, 10th chapter, first verse, 2:10:1. 10 topics of Bhagavatam. So now, if you see the topic of Sarga, creation, actually begins in second canto. Canto 1 does not have much to do with creation. But because Bhagavatam's topics, they are not exactly in particular canto, only that particular topic is discussed. It's not like that. They are also scattered in a way. So we see that the Bhagavatam, uh, these uh, these topics of Bhagavatam, they are found in other cantos also. One particular topic is prominently there in one particular canto, but we might see them also in the other cantos, like that. So this is why we see that we don't ascribe a particular topic necessarily that this is only the topic and nothing else. So I just want to show you. Okay, let me just give me a moment. It is important. So I want to show this particular topic. Just trying to get one document. Yeah. Okay. So, yes. So you can see my screen. These are the topics of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam's topics, they are enlisted in two places. One is in the second canto, and again, Suta Goswami, he also enlists these topics in 12th canto. So the names are slightly different, but basically these are the same 10 topics. Sarga, Visarga, Sthana. Shukadev Goswami calls Sthana, or the planetary arrangements. The name he gives is Sthana, while Srila Suta Goswami in 12th canto calls it Vritti. Poshana is how the protection is named by Srila Shukadev Goswami in the second canto, one of the topics of Bhagavatam, sixth canto's topic. And that is named as Raksha. So now, if you see these 10 topics and 12 cantos, right? So it's like 10 topics and 2 cantos are extra. 2 cantos are, in a way, more. So we see that this is because the cantos, they discuss various topics. You can have one important topic that is being discussed in a canto, but still it has other topics also. So if you see, this is from Srila Jiva Goswami's Tattva Sandarbha. I have just put here. Srila Jiva Goswami analyzes that which cantos discuss which topics. So this is from his Sarva Samvadini commentary on Tattva Sandarbhas, one of the Anuchedas. So he discusses Sarga, creation is primarily discussed in second and third canto. So Prabhupada naming it, or probably it was named by BBT and Prabhupada approved it. Whatever way it is, I had tried to check about this, but who exactly named creation, that also seems to be a discussion. Prabhupada did approve it, that is for sure. The way Prabhupada named these cantos in Jaladuta diary is different than what we are seeing here. So if you see Jaladuta diary, there also in Prabhupada's diary you find the naming of the cantos. And there Prabhupada gives a different naming sort of. So anyhow, the topic that the point that we want to convey is that Bhagavatam's various topics are discussed in various cantos. So you may have a particular topic being discussed in a good amount of subject matter, good length, but then there are other topics also, like Sarga is discussed in second and third canto, while Visarga is discussed in second, third, and fourth canto. Sthanam, planetary systems and occupations, they are primarily discussed in fifth canto, if you see, but they're also discussed in third, seventh, and 11th. Poshana, see, if you want to see which topic is discussed all throughout Bhagavatam, so Srila Jiva Goswami says one topic is there which is discussed everywhere, and that is Raksha or Poshana. Throughout it is discussed. Even for that matter, Ashraya is also discussed throughout. Ashraya is primarily discussed in 10th canto, but it is also discussed throughout. These topics like inclinations, Uti, they are part of 7th canto. All of you know that famous Prahlada's and Indra's, Prahlada's pastime and also other pastimes which are discussed in 7th canto, especially Prahlada's pastime, Uti, inclination, is discussed over there. Manvantaras in 8th canto, the kings, devotee kings, or the kings who were dharmic in nature, that is discussed in ninth canto. Nirodha or annihilation. There are four kinds of Nirodha, annihilation. There is Nitya Pralaya, Naimittik Pralaya, Prakritik Pralaya, and Atyantik Pralaya. These are pralayas, annihilations, Nirodha. And they are discussed in 11th and 12th canto. Mukti is primarily discussed in 12th canto, a very famous section of liberation from material energy. Vasudeva Narada Samvada in 11th canto. And of course, Krishna also speaking that classic section of Uddhava Gita in 11th canto. And then this most important topic of Ashraya, Samam Bonam, Krishna as being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, source of all energies. So that topic is discussed in primarily 10th canto, but it is also discussed in other places wherever Krishna's discussions come, or wherever the prayers to the Supreme Lord Krishna are being offered. So there also we see Ashraya is being discussed. So although the first canto, it has been named as creation, but we can see that it is more like an introduction to the entire Bhagavatam. So creation, some of the prayers in first canto could be connected to creation, but yeah, it's more like an introduction. Acharyas also have seen this canto as an introduction. We see Shukadev Goswami, he actually starts speaking in second canto only. So this is more like an introduction. So if you see, yeah, just a minute. Yeah. So now we begin our discussion on the first verse. So, overview of the first canto. The first canto, as we said, it's an introduction to the entire Bhagavatam. And in that, you can very easily remember the contents of first canto by just one phrase, which is 6 questions and 4 questions. That's all the first canto is. What is it? It is 6 questions and 4 questions. So 6 questions are asked by the sages in the first chapter, and another 4 questions are asked by the sages, and those are sages from Naimisharanya. In the fourth chapter, an entire first canto is nothing but answers to these 10 questions. 6 plus 4, 10 questions are answered in the first canto. So you can see chapter 1 to 3, 6 questions are asked by the sages of Naimisharanya. So those 6 questions are discussed in chapter 1. The answers are discussed in chapter 2 and 3. So that's all the first 3 chapters comprise of. 6 questions asked in chapter 1, and 4 of them are answered in chapter 2. 2 of them are answered in chapter 3. That's it. Finished. So then, if those 6 questions were already answered in these second and third chapter, so what is the further subject matter of discussion? So one thing is, these 6 questions are answered globally and locally. Chapter 1 to 3, or in that basically chapter 2 and 3, that's a local answer to these 6 questions. But they're also globally answered throughout the Bhagavatam. So that's how the rest of the cantos is also answer to those 6 questions. But as a flow of the canto, we see that in chapter 4, 4 questions are asked by the sages again. One question is about history of Srimad Bhagavatam. So that gets answered in chapter 4 to 6. Second question is about birth and activities of Maharaj Parikshit. That gets answered in chapters 7 to 12. Events before the birth and Parikshit's birth. So you can see we have reached from chapter 1 to chapter 12. 7 more chapters to go in the overview of first canto. Parikshit's birth and activities, right? So birth is described in chapter 7 to 12, and the activities of Parikshit, they are described in chapters 13 to 17. So those are the events before coronation, coronation of Maharaj Parikshita, and punishment of Kali. So these all, they are the activities of Maharaj Parikshit. And they are forming, the discussion is there between, amongst the chapter 13 to 17. So that's how these questions are being asked in the rest of the first canto. They are being answered. Third question that the sages ask in fourth chapter is about meeting between Shukdev and Parikshit. And that question is answered in chapter 18 and 19. And also one more question they ask about Parikshit leaving the throne and deciding to fast until death. Why did Parikshit take such a decision? Prayopavishto Gangayam. He decided to fast until death, sitting on the bank of Ganges. So that question is also answered in chapter 18 and 19. So you can see 6 questions being answered in first 3 chapters, or more specifically second and third chapter, and rest of the 4 questions being asked in chapters 4 to 19. Those questions discussing history of Srimad Bhagavatam, classic sections, beautiful sections. Narada Vyasa Samvad, chapters 4 to 6, and then Parikshit's birth, events leading to Parikshit's birth. So those beautiful sections of Ashwatthama being punished, and then Mother Kunti's prayers, such beautiful prayers actually. Bhishma Deva's prayers, those are classic chapters. First canto is just full of these nectarian episodes actually. And then Lord Krishna's departure and also arrival in Dwaraka. And then last chapter in that section is the chapter 12, which is Parikshit's birth. Before that, so many chapters discuss Parikshit's, the events leading to Parikshit's birth. That's how. So sages have expressed a great eagerness to hear about this Mahabhagavatam. Very special, no? Bhagavatam is so special. You know, one of the verses, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti glorifies Bhagavatam, saying, where will you find such a speaker of Bhagavatam and such a hearer of Bhagavatam? They are both so extraordinary, right? Vishnu Rata and Brahma Rata. Brahma Rata is Shukadev Goswami. He was protected by Lord Krishna within the womb. We'll talk about that story. Lord Krishna promised Shukadev Goswami that you will never fall in Maya. I promise you, please come out of your mother's womb. So after spending 12 years in his mother's womb, as per Brahma Vaivarta Purana, then Shukadev came out of the womb of mother. Only when Lord Krishna promised him that you are not going to fall prey to Maya. So, extraordinary speaker of Bhagavatam, liberated right from his birth. And then you also see about the Shrota, the hearer. Parikshit is so extraordinary, right? Vishwanath Chakravarti says, have you heard about some Shrota, some king, the king who had seen the Lord within the womb? Lord gave him darshan within the womb. You might have heard many heroic kings within the Vedic realm, but have you heard about a king who got darshan of the Lord right there in the womb? Personal darshan of the Lord. So that's Parikshit, extraordinary. And then you also hear about the Digvijaya, the conquering of various kings, right? But have you heard about a king who conquered the personification of all evil, Kali himself? You hear about conquests of great kings, right, in the history, uh, Alexander the Great or Napoleon Bonaparte, or in India, Chhatrapati Shivaji, many great kings. So, but have you heard about a conquest of Kali only, directly, the personality of Kali? And that's Parikshit. So, how did these two extraordinary personalities meet? That's the question raised by the sages. Meeting between Shukadev and Parikshit. All the more surprising because Shukadev was not known for giving time to people. I mean, he was not interested in materialistic people. You know, how much time he would spend at a householder's house. Uh, Only that much time which would be needed for milking a cow. Sa godohan matram hi griheshu graha medhinam avekshate mahabhagas tirthi purvans tadashramam. Uh, Avekshate, he waits only that much time. Hmm. Griheshu graha medhinam, in the houses of the householders, he only waits for that much time. Go dohan matram. How much time does it take to milk a cow? Hmm. About 10 minutes or 12 minutes. That's all he would wait. And in that much time, Shukadev Goswami, Tirthi Kurvans Tadashramam, he transformed that household into ashrama. Such beautiful explanation. तीर्थी कुर्वन् तदाश्रमम, उतने समय में उनके आश्रम को तीर्थ बना देते थे. He would make that home into a place of pilgrimage. That was his influence. So such a person who was not ready to spend even more than 10 minutes in a house, how did he spend 7 days and 7 nights with a king like Parikshit? That's the surprise of the sages. That's wonder that they are feeling. How did this happen? Isn't it amazing? This personality, he was never ready to give any time to anyone, but he spent 7 days and 7 nights for Parikshit, who was the king of the whole world. So, how did this meeting happen? What did they discuss? Uh, why did Parikshit give up his throne and decide to fast until death? These are beautiful questions that they are asking, and they will be answered in chapters 18 and 19. So, so that's basically the first canto uh, in overview fashion. It is 6 questions and 4 questions being answered by Srila Sutta Goswami, like that. Okay, all right. You want to ask anything on this before we proceed? Any question pertaining to this? Parama Pavani Shama Mataji, yeah, any quick questions?
Prabhuji, you mentioned in the Jalapita diary, Prabhupada named the first chapter differently. Can you know what was the name Prabhupada gave to the first chapter?
Okay, yeah, I'll just show you. He has named them slightly differently in the diaries, in the Jaladuta diary especially. So, how does he name them? We can see now. So you can see my screen now. This is Jaladuta diary. And in this memoranda, you can see this is how Prabhupada named the cantos. So first canto, yes, Mataji, how has he named first canto? You can tell.
The absolute truth.
The absolute truth. Yeah, that's how he has named. You see, the absolute truth is the naming of the first canto. Second chapter, second canto is named as symptoms of objectivity. Then third is creation, fourth is subcreation. So it's quite sort of more in line with the acharyas that these names appear, because you see that creation is talked about in second, and then subcreation is talked about in 3 and 4, planetary system, which is fifth canto, which is perfect. That's how, I mean, Prabhupada has named them differently, and then here we see differently, but yeah, our fundamental point was, yes, the topics are discussed in various cantos, so we are okay with that. All right. So you can see for yourself, it's there in the diary, other cantos also, how they are named. Praladhanand Prabhu, yes, any quick questions?
Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji. I had just question about one thing we mentioned, that there are some local answer to the 6 questions and global. So how do we kind of understand that?
Yeah, like, these 6 questions, you are aware of them. One of the questions is about, please tell us about the incarnations, Avatara Katha, right? So now, incarnations, they are discussed locally in the 3rd chapter, right? They're discussed from text 6 to text 28, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. That section discusses the incarnations. About 2022 incarnations are discussed there. But the rest of the Bhagavatam in further cantos also discusses the incarnations. So you see, the sages have answered, the sages have got their answer from Srila Sutta Goswami locally there, because in 3rd chapter of 1st canto, you find that answer there. But then they are also elaborated in other cantos, like Lord Nrsimha. Which canto discusses Lord Nrsimha?
7.
Yes, 7th canto. Meena Avatar, Lord Fish Incarnation, which canto?
Is it 8?
Yeah. 8th canto, yeah. It's the end of the 8th canto. So you can say. So this is how they are discussed locally and also globally. By locally, I mean those 2 chapters, chapter 2 and 3. That's where all 6 questions are answered, actually, in principle.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah. Sankrika or Mataji?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my respectful obeisances at your lotus feet, and my pranams to all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis present here today. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhu, as you said that Prahlad Maharaj was such an extraordinary king, unprecedented, nobody's heard of anybody getting darshan in the womb.
Parikshit. I talked
Parikshit
about
Maharaj.
Parikshit.
Yes, Prabhu. Parikshit, do we know anything about his previous birth as to who he was, and any association with the Lord even from the previous birth, so that that's how we see that he's come to have this kind of a fortune, even got darshan before his birth?
Yeah, interesting, actually, interesting question. As far as I have read, I did not come across any prior uh, description of prior life of Parikshit, actually. Parikshit is discussed in Mahabharata and also in Srimad Bhagavatam, certainly in some other Puranas also. But how was his prior life, especially prior birth? I haven't come across any discussion on that, Mataji. So I can check also, but as far as I have read, I haven't come across.
Sure, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you. Satyam Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhu. Jai Shri Prabhu.
Prabhu, so in the previous classes, maybe you already explained. I missed like 10 minutes of this class. Maybe you're going to explain in future. So these cantos, Prabhu. So what was the original Bhagavatam like when?
Okay.
So
Yeah, good question. That's just the next discussion. It's coming. What was the original Bhagavatam? It was a shortened version of the expanded Bhagavatam. And when was it written down and everything? Yes, bro. Today we are discussing that. That's just the next topic.
Thank you,
Okay.
Prabhu.
Tulasi Gopi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, you mentioned that Parikshit Maharaj, Shukadev Goswami was promised in the womb that you will be protected. So you said the Lord, is it Vyasadeva or the Lord Paramatma in the heart, Vishnu or
Okay.
Krishna? Who spoke?
Okay. Who promised Shukadev Goswami that he will never fall in Maya? Lord Krishna promised. Krishna, directly, our Krishna from Dwarka, he promised. Okay, so the story comes in Brahma Vaivarta Purana, which is quoted by Shilajiv Goswami in 9th canto. And 9th canto speaks about one daughter of Shukadeva. Interesting. Daughter of Shukadeva. So, Parikshit, there the Acharyas raised the question, come on, Shukadeva Goswami was a Naishtika. Where come he has a daughter? So that's when Shilajiv Goswami explains that this is a different Shuka. This is another Shukadeva. And the speaker of Bhagavatam, Shukadeva, is another Shuka. And there he mentions Brahma Vaivarta Purana story. How Shukadev appeared. So Shukadev actually, he was in the womb of his mother. Her name is Vitika or Vatika, sometimes called as Vitika also. And he was not ready to come out of the womb of his mother. Brahma Vaivarta Puran says 12 years he was in the womb of mother. So obviously, for a lady to carry the child for 9 months itself is so difficult, right? We know that how a mother struggles so much. It's not easy to bear the child for 9 months. So here was a child which was who was there in the womb of mother for 12 years. So finally, Vyasadeva said to the child, please come out, don't trouble your mother like this. So child said, no, I won't come out because there is so much Maya in the world. So then Vyasadeva said, I promise you that you will not fall in Maya. Please come out. The child said, come on, you are in Grahastha life and you are telling me that you will not fall in Maya. I don't believe your promise. You promise, you get me a promise by somebody who is Mayadhish, one who is controller of Maya. Of course, someone may say Vyasadeva is also the Supreme Lord, but you understand, the pastime is unfolding in a certain way. Shukdev wanted Lord's promise and not his father's promise. So that's when Vyasadeva went to Dwaraka. Lord Krishna was still there on the planet that time. So Shukdev has appeared. Shukdev took his appearance when Lord was still there on the planet. So Vyasadeva went to Dwaraka, brought Lord Krishna, and Lord Krishna came and he promised Shukadev that I promise you, O child, that you will not fall in Maya. Please come out. And then Shukadev Goswami came out because Lord Krishna promised him. And then he offered very beautiful prayers to Sri Krishna. That is when Shukdev Goswami got his name Shuka, Brahma Vaivarta Puran, because he was speaking so sweetly like a parrot. So Krishna says there, Vyasatwadiya Tanaya, Shukavat Manodnyam Brute, Astu Tatnamaha Shuka Eva Namna. He says, this is Brahma Vaivarta Puran. Vyas, your son is speaking so beautiful like a parrot, so let his name be Shuka. So actually, Shukadev Goswami's Namakarana is done by Lord Krishna himself. A name-giving ceremony is done by Lord Krishna. That's how he received the name Shuka. And then he came out and immediately started walking towards forest. That's when Vyasadeva called out, Putra, Putra, please stop, please stop. But he did not stop. He went away. So that's the appearance of Shukadev Mataji.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So in the womb, he offered prayers, unborn child, or after
He talked with Krishna in the womb, and after coming out, he offered the prayers. Okay. He was speaking from the womb, but he came out and then he offered prayers, offered his pranamas, and went away. Right.
Wonderful. So one thing common between both speaker and listener is they had darshan or they spoke to Krishna in the womb. Some special.
You could say. Yeah, yes, perfect. That's right. Both conversed with Krishna in the womb. Of course, Parikshit didn't so much converse, but he was thinking about Krishna. Who is this person? Was such a beautiful person. Parikshit was thinking like this. He did not converse with the Lord, but he did see the Lord, and Lord had entered in the womb itself. Here in this case, Lord did not enter the womb, but he conversed with Shukadeva, and then Shukadev came out of the womb. So both are extraordinary personalities, no doubt. All right. Okay. Thank you. Okay, a lot of questions. Nisha Mataji and Padmini Mataji, then we stop. We move ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. My question is there any significance of him coming out after 12 years? Why was it not 5 years or 10 years or 16?
Why 12 years? As far as I have read in the Purana, it does not tell the significance of why 12 years only. So 12 years is a very certainly auspicious number in Vedic life. 12 years when you talk about tapasya, especially tapa, a period of 12 years is called tapa. The tapa word can mean 12 years in Sanskrit. So it was like, he waited for that darshan of the Lord for 12 years and then only he came out. But he could have stayed 16 years also. He could have stayed 10 years also. Yeah, it's possible like that. So I haven't seen anyone explaining why 12 only and why not any of more or less. Although 12 is special number, but because nobody has explained it in that manner. So I would leave it there actually. Yeah, it could be less or more also, as far as I understand. Yes.
Yes, thank
But
you.
The Brahma Vaibhav Quran mentions 12 years. That's how Jiva Goswami has quoted 12 years only.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you so much. Padmini Mataji. Yes, Padmini Mataji, please speak. Okay, I think you are not able to unmute yourself, looks like. Okay, Mataji, maybe I think you had some difficulty. In the interest of time, I'll proceed now. Towards the end of the session, probably, you could ask again. I'll again open for question answers. That time you can ask. All right, let's go ahead. Okay, there's also another hand raised. Who was that? Vimala Mataji or Prabhu? You can also ask in the end. I will again have some question answers in the end. Okay, let's go ahead. All right, so let's see now. First canto, this is chapter 1, questions by the sages. Now, in this chapter, text 1 to 3 is Vyasadev's Mangalacharan, and text 4 to 23 is the 6 questions by the sages. You see, that's all the first chapter. 1 to 3 is 3 verses, which is a classic Mangalacharan by Vyasadeva, auspicious invocation by Vyasadeva himself. And then text 4 to 23, rest of it is just questions. 6 questions they are asked in these verses. No answers are here. Answers are only in the next chapter and further chapters. Okay. So in that, this is the first verse now. So we are seeing Mangalacharan's first verse. This verse has a meter called as Shardula Vikriditam. In Sanskrit, whenever you sing a padya, a poetry, usually you have to know the meter also so that you can recite it nicely, sing it nicely. So this verse has a meter called as Shardula Vikriditam, which has 19 syllables per quarter. And you have to pause slightly while reciting this verse after the 12th syllable. So I'll show you that. We'll move to the verse. All right, so this is the first verse, text 1. So you can see this is actually the verse. I'm giving some general understanding also of how to understand a Sanskrit text, because it will go for you, it will be helpful for you for the entire study of Srimad Bhagavatam. These are Sanskrit scriptures, so we have to also know certain fundamentals of Sanskrit. So in this verse, this is known as one quarter. Usually, a verse will typically have 4 quarters. So this is one quarter. 1/4 of a verse. It is also known as pada or charana. There are 4 padas in a verse or 4 charanas in a verse. In English, 4 quarters in a verse. So this is first quarter, this is second quarter, this is third quarter, and then finally this is fourth quarter. You see. So when you sing this verse, there is a slight pause after the 12th syllable, and then obviously at the end of the quarter also there is a pause. So this is one syllable. A syllable is that which ends with a vowel, like a here is a vowel. Then this a bar, is also a vowel. This is also a vowel, you see. O is also a vowel. So whenever a consonant is connected with a vowel, that is called as syllable in Sanskrit. Akshara. So this is one syllable, you see. Next syllable will be this. Next syllable will be this. Dia. Okay. Next will be this. Sia. Ya. To. So like this you have to go. The 12th syllable will be what? When you come to the 12th syllable, then you have to pause there. So that 12th syllable comes over here actually. This much is the 12 syllables. It ends with this the. So when you recite this verse, you have to take a small pause here and then recite the rest of the verse. That's a rule. Shardula Vikriditam. Janmadyasya yatonvayaditarata. And slight pause. Shartheshvabhednya swarat. Tene brahmardayadikavaye. Muhyanti yatsurayaha. Tejo vari mridam yatha vinimayo. Yatra trisargo mrisha. Dhamna svena sada nirasta kuhakam. Satyam Param Dhimahi. This is one way it can be recited. 5 different ways we can recite this. In my sessions, I also teach Chanda Shastra. Lord Chaitanya's grammar teacher has written a book on Chanda Shastra called Chando Manjari. Gangadas Pandit, he wrote a beautiful book on Chando Manjari. So based on that Chando Manjari, we can understand how various verses should be sung very beautifully and without making a mistake. So there are different ways these verses are sung. I'm sure all of you, some of you may know also different ways, right? Janmadyasya yatonvayaditaratashchateeshvabhidnyasvarat tene brahmaridaya adikavaye muhyanti yatsurayah tejo vari mridam yatha vinimayo yatra trisargo mrisha dhamna svena sada nirastakuhakam satyam param dhimahi. This is another way, right? Similarly, you can sing this also in the way of Shad Goswami Ashtakam. Janmadyasya yatonvayaditarata Shartheshvabhidnya swarat Tene brahmardayadikavaye Muhyanti yatsurayaha Tejo vari mridam yatha vinimayo Yatra trisargo mrisha dhamna svena sada nirastakuhakam satyam param dhimahi. So you can see in every quarter I am pausing a little bit on the 12th syllable. I mean after the 12th syllable. Like in the second quarter, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye, and then there is slight pause. That's a pause for just maybe 1 second. That's all, not more than that. Similarly, Tejo Vari Mridam Yatha Vinimayo. This is where you pause slightly and then sing the rest of the line. Dhamna Svena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam. This is where you pause and then complete. I don't like that. So this is how this verse can be sung. Another way. Janmadyasya yatonvayaditarata Shartheshvabhidnya swarat Tene brahmardaya kavaye Muhyanti yatsurayah Tejo vari mridam yatha vinimayo Yatra trisargo mrisha Dhamna svena sada nirasta kuhakam Satyam param dhimahi. This is also very simple, right? Yes. So this is how you can sing in different ways. And then the final one, one more you can sing also in this fashion. Janmadyasya yatonvayaditarata Shartheshvabhidnya swarat Tene brahma hridaya adikavaye Muhyanti yatsurayah Tejo vari mridam yatha vinimayo Yatra trisargo mrisha Dhamna svena sada nirasta kuhakam Satyam param dhimahi. You see. So I have demonstrated 5 different ways that you can sing. Probably some of you may know even different tune of singing. But the important thing is, in Sanskrit, you sing it without taking any pause unnecessarily in between. And you sing it in a continuous fashion. That's the rule. You should never break the word. Don't sing like Janmadi, Asya, Yatonvayad. Of course, for the sake of pronunciation, Prabhupada has put it like that. But in Sanskrit, when you recite a verse, you have to recite continuously. You don't break it in between. Like here, Trisargo Mrisha. So we don't say Trisargo Amrisha. Although this apostrophe shows that A is there. But still, we don't pronounce it. You should pronounce it straight. Trisargo mrisha, trisargo mrisha. Similarly, yato also. You don't pronounce that anvayat. No. Yaton vayat. Straight. Yaton vayat. This way. So it needs some practice, but it's okay. You can learn, you can take your time and learn, no problem. These are some few important things when you recite verse. So just once we will recite, and I'll have one or two of you recite this verse, and then we move to the discussion. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Janmadhyasya yatonvayaditarata chartheshvabhednyasvarat tene brahmardayadikavaye muyyanti yatsurayah tejo varimridam yatha vinimayo yatra trisargo mrisha dhamna svena sada nirastakuhakam satyam param dhimahi. All right. Who wants to recite? Please raise your hand. Yes, Saudamini Sundari Mataji. Yes, please recite Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Janmadhyasya yatonvayaditarataschartheshvabhedyasvarat Tene Brahmaridaya Adikavaye Muyanti Suraya Tejo Varimridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatra Trisargo Mrisha Dhamna Svena Sada Nirastakuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi.
Very beautiful. Thank you. Very nice. Param Pavane Shama Mataji, you want to recite?
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतः शार्थेषु विघ्नस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदयादिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरया तेजो वारिमृदं यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गं मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकम् Satyam Param Dhimahi.
Yes, wonderful. Wonderful. Satyam Prabhu, you want to recite?
Sure, Prabhu, I'll try. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Janmadhyasya yato navayad itaratas chartesu avigna swara tene brahma hridaye yadi kavaye mukhyanti yat sura tejo vari mridam yata vinimayo yatra trisangam rasa dhamna sevana sada nirastakuhukam satyam param dhimai.
Yes. Okay, Satyam Prabhu, your name is there in the verse. So you understand Devanagari, Prabhu, or you don't understand?
I do a little bit, yes, Prabhu.
Okay, yes. One of the good things for Sanskrit recitation is if you can know Devanagari. Even if not, you can still read from the Roman transliteration and still can also nicely recite. It's possible for everyone, no problem. It's just that, yeah, some practice is needed. That's how. But yes, if we can recite them again and again, then we'll become experts. Okay, maybe Nisha Mataji, you can do. And then in the further sessions, I will always begin with this session. So I will also give opportunity to others to recite. Tulasi Gopi Mataji and others can recite that time. Nisha Mataji, you can recite.
Thank you, Prabhu. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Janmadhyasya yatyonvayad itirata Shartheshvabhigya swarat Tene brahma hridaya adi kavyai मुह्यन्ति यत्सूर्यः तेजो वारिमृतं यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्ता कुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि.
Thank you. Wonderful. All right, let's move on. Translation. Praladhan Prabhu, you want to read translation?
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji, yes.
Dandavat Pranam.
O my Lord, Sri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Sri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes of creation, sustenance, and destructions of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations, and he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen in fire or land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes, temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of nature, appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Sri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. So, we have read the verse and the translation by Srila Prabhupada. So, you can see this is a very large verse, long verse, right? This meter is one of the longest meters in Sanskrita. And Vyasadeva is beginning his Mangalacharan with this beautiful verse. Especially first three verses, they are, the next verse is also in the same meter. Dharma projita kaitavautra. It also has the same meter. And then the third verse has a different meter. So first three verses, they are like a test for all of you. They are very philosophical. The discussion is also very elaborate. Acharyas have extensively commented. Prabhupada also has given a long purport. So it's like a test for the reader of Bhagavatam. Once these three verses are over, then it's very swift. You can move ahead very quickly. But for three verses, you have to be patient. Sometimes there may be a lot of philosophical discussion, Swarup Lakshana, Tatastha Lakshana, all that. But yes, have some patience and try to understand the subject matter. You will really find it very, very relishable. These first three verses itself will teach so many nitty-gritties of Siddhanta, of philosophy of Krishna consciousness, that you may be amazed that so much of wisdom Vyasadeva has offered in these three verses. So, you see, this is a Mangalacharan verse. And when you talk about Mangalacharan, auspicious invocation, it has three purposes, three objectives of Mangalacharan. Who would like to tell what are the three purposes of Mangalacharan? Yeah. Three purposes of Mangalacharan, you have heard this? Narahari Dev Prabhu. Yes, please speak.
Prabhu, Vastu Nirdesha, Ashirvad, and Namaskar are the three purposes of Mangalacharana.
Very nice. Yeah, what are these things? Can you tell in English?
Vastu Nirdesha is the object of worship. Ashirvad is to invoke the blessings, and Namaskar is to offer obeisances to the Lord. These are the three things, Prabhu.
What is Vastu Nirdesha again?
Define the objective of worship. Vastu Nirdesha.
Yes, Prabhu. So you are right. Vastu Nirdesh, Ashirvad and Namaskar. Vastu Nirdesh is the objective of the book. That's Vastu Nirdesh. What is the main objective of the book? Namaskar is offering obeisances to Hari Guru and Vaishnavas, while Ashirvad is offering benedictions to the readers. So Vyasdev also follows this scheme. Vastu Nirdesha, defining the objective of the book. Namaskar, offering obeisances to Hari, Guru and Vaishnavas. Ashirvad are the blessings for the readers. See, Mangalacharana also can have another aspect covered. You heard about these three purposes, and many of you may know it. But there is something called as Anubandha Chatushtaya. And this is also purpose of Mangalacharana. Especially in Vyasadev's Mangalacharana, this is accomplished in second verse, which is also part of Mangalacharana. What is Anubandha Chatushtaya? Is anyone aware of this? Anubandha Chatushtaya? Heard of this term? Anyone? Okay, no problem. So Anubandha Chatushtaya, which is also one of the purposes of Mangalacharan. Mangalacharan is supposed to cover it. Supposed to cover it means Mangalacharan should have this Anubandha Chatushtaya. It is basically 4 components pertaining to the book. What are they? Vishaya, subject of the book. Your Anubandha Chatushtaya, first in that is Vishaya. You should speak about what is the subject of the book. Sambandha, you should speak about what is the relationship between the book and the subject of the book. This Sambandha is a very specific term. It is not talking about relationship between God and his energies. No. It is the relation of the book to its subject. What is the book and what is the subject? How are they related? Adhikari, the eligibility of the reader. Who is eligible to study the scripture? This book. That's the eligibility. And finally, prayojana. What are you going to accomplish by reading this book or hearing this book? The purpose of the book in that way. Vishaya is more about what is the topic there. Purpose or prayojan is what will you accomplish by this book. So, in typical Vedantic tradition, Anubandha Chatushtaya is also offered in the Mangalacharan itself. So Vyasadeva, he offers Anubandha Chatushtaya in the second verse. In the first verse, what he does is Vastu Nirdesha. And he defines the objective of the book by defining the Parama Satya, absolute truth itself. So you see that that's how Vyasadeva is going to offer his Mangalacharan. In the second verse, what he does is he offers the Anubandha Chatushtaya. And in the third verse, he speaks about the aspect of Ashirvada. He offers the blessings to the readers. What about Namaskar? Well, Namaskar is included in the first verse itself. So, out of Vastu Nirdesha, Namaskar and Ashirvad, first 2 are covered in the first verse, which is the verse under discussion. And Ashirvad is covered in the third verse. Okay. So what does then the second verse cover? Second verse covers Anubandha Chatushtaya. Vishay, Sambandha, Adhikari and Prayojan. So when we come to the second verse, we'll talk about this in good detail. what is Vishaya, what is Sambandha, what is Adhikari, what is Prayojana. And finally, these three verses also speak Sambandha, Abhidheya and Prayojana as we understand it from Lord Chaitanya. Sambandha, now by Sambandha I mean here the relationship between God and his energies. Abhidheya is the process to attain that, and Prayojana is the goal of that process. So the three verses of Mangalacharan, they also give us Sambandha, Abhidheya and Prayojana. First verse gives Sambandha, second verse gives Abhidheya, third verse gives Prayojana. Quite orderly. First verse speaks about Supreme Lord and his energies. Second verse speaks about that process of bhakti, Abhidheya. And then the third verse speaks about the purpose or the goal of that process, which is becoming a Bhava Bhakta, Bhavuka, which is becoming a Rasika. Muhuraho Rasika Bhuvi Bhavuka. Bhagavatam wants us to become Rasikas and Bhavukas. By Bhavuka, we don't mean sentimental, but we mean full of devotional sentiments. Sentimental and sentiment, these are two different things. Somebody may be a sentimental person, but the followers of Bhagavatam, they are not sentimental. They are having pure, sublime sentiments towards the Supreme Lord. So this Bhagavatam is an invitation for everyone to become a Rasika. For those who are already a Rasika, Rasika means somebody who is very expert in tasting the mellows of bhakti. So if you're already a Rasika, please come and hear this beautiful Bhagavatam. Vyasadeva says, come and drink it. Vivata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Muhuraho Rasika Bhuvi Bhavuka. But if you are not a Rasika, then what do you do? So come and become a Rasika. Come and become a Bhavuka. It's a beautiful invitation for everyone like that. So that is the prayojana of Bhagavatam, to have love of Godhead in plain terms, to develop that prema. So that's what is Bhagavatam, it's prayojana. And this is how first three verses speak about these aspects very clearly. Typically, when you talk about Sanskrit text, the way the commentary is written, let's get some insight in that also. These are 5 characteristics of a commentary, how it is written. When you have a Sanskrit text and some commentary is explaining it, see, these are the elements. Padacheda padarthoktir vigraho vakya yojana akshepeshu samadhanam vyakhyanam pancha lakshanam. This is from Parashara Upapuran. There are 5 characteristics of a vyakhyana or explanation of a text. Padacheda, separation of the words of a text. Take a verse like this verse, Janmadhyasya. So now separating the words of the text, because Sanskrit, the words are fused inside each other because of the rules of Sandhi, also Samasa. So you have to separate the words. Prabhupada does that in the word-to-word meaning. Padarthokti, stating the meaning of the words. Prabhupada does this in again word-to-word meaning. Vigraha, analysis of nominal compounds. Janmadi, what does that mean? Literally, it means Janma, etc. That's all. Birth, etc. But when I say birth, etc., what does that mean? That etc. brings in something else, right? What is that etc.? Birth, what goes along with birth?
sustenance.
Sustenance. What more?
And
Destruction.
destruction.
Destruction. Exactly. Right. So when you translate a word and write the meaning as Janmadi's meaning as birth, sustenance, and destruction, that is called as Vigraha, analysis of nominal compound. You have broken that samasa. Those of you who know Sanskrit may have heard these terms. Even if you don't understand this, it's okay. Don't worry about it. We are going to discuss primarily the verse. But I'm just telling you how Prabhupada is following a very traditional methodology of giving a commentary. These are the standard steps when you want to explain a text. And Prabhupada is doing a thorough job here by explaining this text in a similar fashion. It's extraordinary analysis by Prabhupada because every single text he has analyzed like this. For all the Bhaktivedanta purport, he took the original text, gave the word to word, then, he analyzed the nominal compounds, gave the meanings. So much of hard work, right? Vakya Yojana, construction of the entire text. In Samskrita, the poetry is written, and in poetry, Sanskrit can put verb, subject, object in any fashion they want. In English, you have a typical order, right? You put subject and then verb and then object. Rama kills Ravana. So, Rama is subject, kills is the verb, Ravana is the object. So this is how we speak, right, in English or in vernaculars also. But Sanskrit, you can change the order of the words without changing the meaning. It is amazing language. So Ramaha Ravanam Hanti. Rama kills Ravana. Now, if you change the order of this text, no meaning will change. This is amazing in Sanskrit. In English, it's not like that, right? Rama kills Ravana. If you interchange the position of Rama and Ravana in your sentence, it will be anartha. Your entire statement will lose the meaning. In fact, it will have very undesirable meaning. But Sanskrit, it's not like that. Ramaha Ravanam Hanti, Va Ravanam Ramaha Hanti, Va Hanti Ramaha Ravanam, Va Hanti Ravanam Rama, whatever you say, the meaning is the same. It is because the syntax is defined within the word. It's a classic language. Your words are fused with the syntax. And that's why whether you place verb in the beginning, in the end, or in middle, whatever, the meaning is the same. Rama kills Ravana. That's it. So that's why what you have to do is when you have to write them in English, you have to straighten them, you could say. You have to put in right order of subject, verb, and object. That's how you can see Satyam Param Dhimahi. So Dhimahi, that's the last verb, but we may have to begin with that. I meditate. So we are beginning with the verb, while in the original text, the verb is in the end. So this is called Vakya Yojana. When you put it in a prose fashion, the poetry of Sanskrit is put into prose fashion, like that. And finally, Akshepeshu Samadhanam. The verse is going to raise certain objections. Those are answered in the commentary. That's the commentary part, right? Prabhupada also in his purport, he says a question may be raised. And then that objection is answered by taking the words of the verse. They answer the objection raised. So this is how a typical commentary is written. And Prabhupada does follow these traditional steps. This is what I wanted to show. All right. The historicity of Srimad Bhagavatam. When was Srimad Bhagavatam spoken? So one of you had this question, right? Somebody spoke about it. Let's hear now. When was Srimad Bhagavatam spoken exactly? The way we have it. spoken or composed. Let's understand in all the aspects. So this is a verse from 7th chapter, 8th verse from 1st canto. Sasamhitam bhagavatim kritvanukramya chatmajam shukamadhyapayamasa nivrutti niratam munihi. Tulasi Gopi Mataji, you want to read this translation?
Yes,
Yeah.
Prabhu. The great
Yes,
sage,
ma'am.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. The great
Right.
sage Vyasdev, after compiling the Srimad Bhagavatam and revising it, taught it to his own son, Sri Shukadev Goswami, who was already engaged in self-realization.
Yeah, thank you. So this is a verse from Bhagavatam, 7th chapter, 1st canto, 7th chapter, 8th verse. And this verse has a classic commentary by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti and Jiva Goswami. And here is the mystery of Bhagavatam's historicity is unveiled completely. So what does the verse say? Vyasadeva, after compiling Bhagavatam and revising it, he revised it. And then he taught it to his own son, Shukadeva. So Vyasadeva wrote some Bhagavatam and he revised it, Anukramya. So what does that mean? Did he write two versions of Bhagavatam? In Sarartha Darshini commentary, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti raises this question. When did Narada's Upadesh to Vyasadeva take place? It took place after the disappearance of the Lord Krishna and before the punishment of Kali by King Parikshit. So, Vyasadeva, did he write two versions of Bhagavatam? So, let's understand this. See, first and foremost, Bhagavatam is spoken only in 4 verses by Lord Krishna to Brahmaji in the beginning of creation. Those 4 verses were expanded by Brahma and they were taught by Brahma to Narada. Narad Muni taught them to Vyasadeva. Now, when Vyasadeva, he decided to write down scriptures towards the end of the Dwapar Yuga. So he wrote down, we know that is the first time the scriptures are being written down. Before they were only in oral tradition. You hear it and you memorize. But now Vyasadeva started writing the scriptures for the Kali Yuga people. So he wrote down all the 4 Vedas and everything. All Vedas and Samhitas, Brahmanas, Aranyakas, everything. So after that, he wrote down the Mahabharata also. And then he had written all 18 Puranas also. He wrote Mahabharata, he wrote Vedanta Sutra. Still, he was not satisfied. This episode comes in the 5th canto, 5th chapter of 1st canto. 5th chapter of 1st canto. Right? So Vyasdev was not satisfied in spite of writing everything. In spite of writing 18 Puranas also. So 18 Puranas means he wrote Bhagavatam also within that. So even after writing Bhagavatam, he was not satisfied. That's what it means, right? So he wrote all the Vedas, he wrote the 18 Puranas, he wrote Mahabharata, he wrote Vedanta Sutra. Still he was not satisfied. And that's when Narada arrived. And Narada said to Vyasadeva, see, you have written all these scriptures, but you have not exclusively glorified Krishna. Your glorification of Krishna is not exclusive. Bhavata nudita prayam yasho bhagavato malam jenai vaso na tushet manne tad darshanam khilam. He said, I accept that philosophy as khilam, as incomplete, which does not satisfy the Supreme Lord. And that's what you have done. You have practically evaded the glories of the Supreme Lord. You have eschewed the spotless glories of the Supreme Lord, although you have written so many scriptures. So, what Vyasadeva had written, in that list, Bhagavatam was also there. Still, he was not satisfied. So, why was that? Because that Bhagavatam was not spotless glories of the Supreme Lord. It was a brief Sankshipta Bhagavatam. It was a mini, small version of Bhagavatam, not the current one which we have. So when Narad Muni instructed Vyasadeva, saying that you have to glorify Krishna spotlessly, yatha dharma dayaschartha munivarya hi anuvarnita na tatha vasudevasya mahima hi anuvarnita. Just how you have glorified dharmartha kama moksha, like that you never glorified Vasudev's mahima in all the scriptures. You cannot do that. You have to write one scripture which glorifies spotless glory of Krishna. So that initial Bhagavatam that Vyasadeva wrote, it was a brief Bhagavatam as per Srila Jiva Goswami, and after Narada's Upadesh, he revised it and then came up with this Bhagavatam which has 18,000 verses. So the current Bhagavatam that we have is the revised and expanded edition, right? When you used to study in engineering, so some book comes which is revised and expanded, so you would be very happy. Yes, this is better, right? So this was revised and expanded version of Srimad Bhagavatam, which occurred after Narada's Upadesha. When did this Upadesh of Narad Muni take place? This happened after disappearance of Lord Krishna and before the punishment of Kali by King Parikshit. So try to get a sense of the timeline. Shukadev is born to Vyasadeva when Lord Krishna was still there. Lord Krishna was on the planet. We heard that story. So Shukadev is born and then immediately he goes to the forest. So Vyasadeva is unsuccessful in his efforts to bring him back and he leaves it. So for many years, Shukadeva was in the forest. Then meanwhile, Lord Krishna departs from this world, goes back to the spiritual abode. And Vyasadeva takes up the whole effort of writing down scriptures. In fact, when Krishna was about to leave, that time already Vyasadeva had taken up this effort. So after Lord Krishna's disappearance, Vyasadeva compiles all the scriptures and then he's still not satisfied. That's when Narad Muni comes. So this whole episode is happening after Lord Krishna's departure. Vyasadeva is coming up with revised edition of Bhagavatam after Krishna's departure. And then Vyasadeva in this way wrote down all the complete Quran called Bhagavad Quran, which is the 18,000 verses worth. So then he was completely satisfied. And that was the last scripture that he wrote. Before that, he had written everything else. But he wrote Bhagavatam and then he was completely satisfied. So this is how. So Vyasadeva wrote Mahabharata after writing all the 18 Puranas, and he wrote Bhagavatam after he had written Mahabharata. So was Bhagavatam 19th Purana? It was not 19th Purana. It was the revised and expanded, enlarged, updated version of that original Bhagavatam. Original, or you could say that short version of Bhagavatam. And then this version of Bhagavatam is what he taught to his son Shukadev. So that's the point. Vyasadeva had first written Bhagavatam in a concise form as one of the 18 Puranas. After Narad Muni's instructions, he revised and expanded it to come up with the current form of Bhagavatam. That's the meaning of Anukramya, revising and updating it. Jiva Goswami also confirms this in Tattva Sandarbha. And Shripad Sridhar Swami also confirms that Bhagavatam was compiled beforehand, before the meeting of Shukadeva and Parikshit. In the commentary to the verse 113, we'll see this verse 113. But the point is this, that before Shukadeva and Parikshit met, the entire Bhagavatam was already compiled and taught to Shukadeva. So, when Bhagavatam is describing the events such as meeting of Shukadeva and Parikshit and all that, it has not even occurred, that event. It's all seeing the future. Vyasadeva is Trikaladnya. He can see past, present, and future. So what he has done is, he has seen in the future and he has written down the entire Bhagavatam. Right from the first verse all the way up to the last verse. Vyasadeva has seen in the future and written down before only. He has written down before. So that's when Bhagavatam was composed. So I hope now you get the clarity on. Sometimes people feel Bhagavatam was written down after Shukadeva and Parikshit spoke. No. Sometimes people feel Bhagavatam was written down after Suta Goswami spoke to Naimisharanya and suggests, no, it was written before only, entire Bhagavatam. But it was not taught to everyone. It was only taught to Shukadeva. And then Shukadeva again departed to the forest. Learning from Vyasadeva, Shukadeva again went to the forest. And after a few years, then we see Parikshit is cursed. Then Shukadeva comes back to share that Bhagavatam. Like that. So this is how. As per Mahabharata, Parikshit was cursed 24 years after Lord Krishna's disappearance. So Lord Krishna, Parikshit, I'm sorry, Yudhishthir ruled for 36 years. So Parikshit, when Lord Krishna departed, Parikshit was 36 years old. And after that, he also further lived for 24 years. So Parikshit was of the age of 60 when he got cursed, as per Mahabharata. At the age of 60. So that is when Shukadev came back to give Bhagavatam to Parikshit in that assembly on the bank of Ganges. So you can imagine this is how the knowledge of Bhagavatam, although it was written, it was for long time with only Vyasadeva and Shukadeva. Only in that assembly of Parikshit, it came out for the sake of everyone. And in that assembly, Suta Goswami was sitting, who later on narrated that to the Naimisharanya sages. This is after some time, after a few years. So, you understand the timeline? Vyasadeva teaching to his son is immediately after Lord Krishna's disappearance, when Narada's Upadesh happened. And then Shukadev departs. He goes again to the forest. So 24 years after that, when Shukadev comes back to enlighten Parikshit, who got cursed. So in that assembly, Suta Goswami is speaking, not speaking, but listening. And then that Suta Goswami later becomes speaker to Naimisharanya sages. So this is how the timeline is there. But Vyasadeva, seeing everything in the future, he wrote down before only. That's how Vyasadeva is writing Suta Uvacha and such words, although this is all going to happen in the future. So this is the explanation of Bhagavatam's historicity. All right. So now we come to the verse and its understanding. But I think, for today we can pause here because it's already time. So thank you very much for your patient listening. For those of you who need to leave, please go ahead. The class is over. For those who have questions on this topic or anything we discussed before, please stay back and I can spend some time on question answers. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. All right. Any questions on today's discussion? Yes, Satyam Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. First of all, thank you so much for your time and such a nice class again. It was nectarian. Prabhu, question. You mentioned, so Vyasadeva also, all those verses were said like Sutta Uvacha. So those were also like Vyasadeva wrote those, like Sutta is going to say this.
Absolutely. Vyasadeva wrote them.
Nice.
Vyasadeva wrote all the 18,000 verses, including those saying Sutta Uvach or Shuka Uvach or whatever.
So even I think second or third verse where Vyasadeva says that it has been written to his maturity, like it's a
Yeah, amazing, no? Even that verse is by Vyasadeva. And why does he write like that? Yeah, somebody can say, right? What is the need of any other scripture if the great sage Vyasadeva has written it, right? So there is very beautiful commentary on that, why Vyasadeva writes like that. We'll discuss it in verse 2. Yes.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Praladhanand Prabhu. Yes.
Dhanwad Pranam Prabhuji. I had one question regarding what you mentioned about Jiva Goswami talking about daughter of Sukdev, and then you said that there was another Sukdev. It was in ninth canto somewhere, you said? I was just
Yeah,
wondering. I haven't heard of that.
It is in ninth canto. Ninth canto. Just search for Shuka Kanya. That's the word, which is, I think it is 20th chapter or so. You can see. I can otherwise give that verse later. But in the commentary to that verse, Srila Jiva Goswami explains this whole episode of Shukadev's appearance. Okay, let's see maybe quickly if I can get it right here. Shuka Kanya in the ninth canto. Okay, yeah, I got it immediately. So, yes, Prabhu. So this is the verse, Prabhu.
Okay.
You can see. King Nripa begot a son named Brahmadatta through the womb of his wife Krithvi, who was the daughter of Shuka. So you see, interesting. 9:21:25, that's the reference. So now, interestingly, who is this Shuka's daughter? Because Shukadev Goswami was a Naishtika. So immediately you see Prabhupada also. The Shuka mentioned here is a different from Shukadev Goswami who spoke Srimad Bhagavatam. And then he also describes some pastime here. But Jiva Goswami describes in full detail. So you can see the commentary of this verse, Krama Sandarbha, and that's where you will find it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Prabhu.
Tulasi Gopi Mataji.
Prabhuji, so even the questions by the sages and everything was predicted, like he saw everything, the questions and
Absolutely. Everything, Mataji, everything that is there in those 18,000 verses, it is by Vyasadeva. So it's like you write the entire script, everything you foresee and then write it down like that. That's how it is. Okay. All right. Ekambaram Padmini, Mataji, I understand.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Sorry, Prabhu, I was not able to unmute at that point of time. Prabhu, I have some simple questions. Vyasadeva himself is incarnation of the Lord Krishna himself. Then what is the significance that Narad Muni has to initiate for the revised version of Bhagavatam? And earlier I was also wondering whether if he spoke so sweet like parrot, so he also has the face of a parrot. I just thought I can learn from you what is the significance of that too.
Yeah. Okay, Vyasadeva, he is Supreme Lord himself, no doubt. See, Vyasadeva is Supreme Lord. Many of you may be aware of this concept that there is a different Vyasadeva for a different Chatur Yuga. Vyasadeva is a post. It's a designation. So there are different Vyasas for different Chatur Yuga. Chatur Yuga is a collection of 4 yugas, Satya, Treta, Dwapar, Kali. So now for every yuga, there is a different Vyasadeva. Like for our yuga, this Vyasadeva is none other than the Supreme Lord. But in prior yuga, it's not necessary that Vyasadeva has to be Supreme Lord. No. He is a Shaktyavesh avatar in prior ages. Like Valmiki was the Vyasa for 24th Divya Yuga, 24th Divya Yuga. And this is Brahmaji's 51st year, first day. Right now, we are in Brahma's 51st year, first day in that 7th Manvantara. in that 28th Divya Yuga. So if you see, Parashar Muni was Vyasa in 26th Divya Yuga. Valmiki was Vyasa in 24th Divya Yuga. So there are these different personalities who become Vyasadevas. So now, the personality who is Vyasadeva in this particular Chatur Yuga is Narayan himself. In spite of that, the dissemination of Bhagavatam is arranged in such a way that Supreme Lord Narayana, he also becomes dissatisfied in spite of writing all these scriptures. So it is Prabhu arranged. You cannot, Vyasadeva cannot be under illusion. Obviously, he is Supreme Lord himself. So Acharyas have commented that this whole thing was arranged in order to bring out that sublime glory of Bhagavatam. You juxtapose Bhagavatam with all the other scriptures and highlight its glory, that although everything was written down, still Vyasadeva was not satisfied. Just see that scripture which had spotless glory of Sri Krishna, only that satisfied the Vyasadeva. So if this is the case with the writer of the scripture himself, so what would the readers of the scriptures gain if they are going on reading all other scriptures? Because Vyasadeva, having compiled them, he was not happy. So what's going to happen with all of us? So only when he wrote down pure and sublime, 100% pure glory of Sri Krishna's spotless glories, then he was satisfied. So in order to drive home this point, the arrangement is being done in that way. Certainly, no Acharya will accept this point that Srila Vyasadeva can be bewildered, or he sort of was under illusion and he wrote down something incomplete and then he had to revise. No, it was certainly an arrangement in order to bring out the glory of this particular Bhagavatam, which is written by then later revised and updated edition that Vyasadeva brought up. So that's the purpose basically. Coming to Shukadeva, yes, Shukadeva is depicted as someone who has a parrot-like parrot head also, and he's very, very sweet speaker of Bhagavatam. So he was extraordinarily empowered for speaking Bhagavatam. He was already a great Brahman realized person, one who did not even perceive the body, right? There is this famous story where when he was passing by, there were few heavenly ladies who were bathing there. And although he looked at them, he did not even see them. He only perceived everyone as spirit soul. So those ladies, they did not feel any sense of being ashamed or like that, although they were bathing without any clothes. So this is spoken in Bhagavatam itself, right? In the 4th chapter, it is there. Devyorya paridadhur nasutasya chitram. It is said. So why was that? Because Shukadev, he was actually on transcendental platform. He just saw people's spirit soul, nothing. Nothing else. There was just no sense of any bodily consciousness. So such a person, when he also received the mercy of Sri Krishna and mercy of Vyasadeva, later Shukadev, when he went to forest, Vyasadeva arranged to bring him back. Vyasadeva arranged actually so that Shukadev could come back by making some disciples of Vyasadeva recite Bhagavatam verses. When Shukadev heard those verses, he was drawn towards Vyasadeva. He said, I want to learn this scripture. This is such a beautiful person, Krishna. I want to hear his glories. So that's how Vyasadeva brought back Shukadev. So he was extraordinarily qualified from the angle of jnana, from angle of vairagya. But then he got that bhakti's mercy by Krishna's and Vyasadeva's grace. And then he became extremely dear to the Vaishnavas. Nityam Vishnu Janapriya. It is said, Bhagavatam says that he became Vishnu Janapriya. Before he was more like a jnani, but after receiving Vyasadeva's mercy, he became a devotee. So that's how Shukadeva is. Okay.
Dandavat pranams, Prabhu. Thank you.
Yeah. Divyangi Lalita Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Pranams. Thank you so much for the very beautiful explanation, Prabhu. My question was from the initial slides that you showed, Prabhu, where the different not characteristics, the topics of the Bhagavatam were described. So you had on one column you had the topics from the second canto, and the other one I think was from the 12th canto, Prabhu.
Yeah.
So is
Yeah.
there like similar to the shloka in the second canto, is there also a shloka in the 12th canto which describes the topics?
Absolutely. Yes, it is. It is. I can give you that reference. In that slide, I think I did not mention the reference, but I can, I'll put the exact reference on the WhatsApp group. Yes.
Thank you, Prabhu.
So you can remember that these two lists are there. One is by Suta Goswami, one is by Shukadeva. So Shukadeva speaks it in second canto, 10th chapter, and Suta Goswami speaks in 12th canto. And what's the chapter number? I can find out and tell you.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Thank you. Sindhu Rao ji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Please accept my
Mataji,
humble
pranam.
obeisances. Thank you so much for a wonderful class, Prabhu. I think partly you answered the question that I was about to ask. It is regarding Sukadev Goswami and Vyasadeva, right? Vyasadeva is a Shakti avatar of Krishna. I mean, he is a avatar of Krishna. He's, like you said, he's Narayana himself, and he wrote Bhagavatam. But why Vyasadeva? I've heard it before, but I'm not very clear. Why Vyasadeva himself did not give Bhagavatam to the world, and he actually is supposed to have prayed to Krishna for Sukdev Goswami to manifest, right? There is a saying that he actually kept praying to the Lord to send someone who can give Bhagavatam to the world. Why he himself did not give it to the world if he is written it? I mean, he has digested that script, right? I mean, he knows in and out of it. Why Sukadev Goswami? And Sukadev Goswami was, like you said, he was a Brahmananda, right? He was not even, before listening to Bhagavatam, he was not even in Bhakti Yoga. How come, Sukadev Goswami was chosen to be the one who gave Bhagavatam to the world?
Yeah, good, actually, very good question. See, Shukdev, Vyasadev, he could have himself taught the Bhagavatam. Is that right? It is right. Yes, he could have. He is Narayana himself. What can he not do? So he could have. But then we see that Shukadev was chosen. And that too when he came from a Brahman kind of background, Brahmanandi, Brahmavadi. So why was it arranged in that fashion? Actually, this is to demonstrate a very profound, pristine principle in Bhagavatam, which is spoken in the Atmaram verse. Atma Ramascha Munayo Nirgrantha Pyurukrame Kurvantya Hitukrim Bhaktim Itham Bhuta Guno Harihi. Itham Bhuta Guno Harihi. Such is the, speciality of Lord Hari, or the qualities of Lord Hari, that even the greatest of Atma Ramas, Atma Ramascha Munayo, Nirgrantha, those who are completely devoid of all attachments, those who have transcended all the granthas, books. Nirgrantha word. Just a minute. Yeah. Nirgrantha can mean those who have transcended all books, because books are needed for sadhakas, not for siddhas. Or Nirgrantha can also mean those who have transcended all the granthis, attachments, material attachment. So such personalities also, they are attracted by Krishna's beautiful pastimes. In order to demonstrate this principle, somebody who was an extraordinary Brahmavadi, he is chosen and he is transformed into a devotee. And then he becomes the speaker of Bhagavatam. So you see the kind of transformation Bhagavatam can do. It is not attracting some ordinary people. It is attracting ordinary people also. But you want to show the level of a scripture, then you show what kind of caliber of people it attracts. So the Atmaramas and the Munis, who can attract them? But here is a scripture which attracts even such personality. What is the proof? Shukadev. What is the proof? The another, Kumaras. So in order to drive home this principle, you should see the example of Shukadev is taken. And then he was offered that mercy. Actually, Shukadev, he was given that kripa. What was his qualification in terms of getting this mercy? Vishwanath Chakravarti says Shukadev got kripa siddhi. He actually was bestowed the favor by Vyasadeva. So his qualification as a Brahmavadi became actually a blessing, because Bhagavatam's this principle is to be demonstrated. So he became the chosen candidate. Okay, he was the most extraordinary mukta, the liberated soul. Why not? On him, let's show the power of Bhagavatam. And that's when Vyasadev's disciple, when they recited those beautiful verses like Barhapidam Natavaravapu, and Shukadev's just, heart melted with ecstasy. What is this Krishna? What a personality, what a beauty, what a mercy. I want to know more about this. What am I doing in this Brahman realization? He ran towards his father and said, please teach me this. This is so wonderful. And that's when Vyasadeva taught him the Bhagavatam. So you see, yes, Supreme Lord can do. Vyasadeva, what can he not do? But then this principle is being arranged in this fashion.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. If you don't mind, I have another question. Is it okay to ask? I know there are many hands.
I'll come back to you.
Yes,
Satyam Prabhu and Lalita Mataji, they are also raising the hand. Priti Vilasini Mataji, you are raising hand also.
Thank you.
I am raising on behalf of two devotees who have sent text message and unable to unmute. So I'm going to read their questions. Not here, Prabhu. I got it on WhatsApp. Sorry. So they are not able to unmute because of some reasons. So.
Sure. Are they there? You want me to take these questions right now?
Yes. If you can take this question, I think the devotee is on call. The question asked is, Srimad Bhagavatam, we see that in every Chaturyuga there is a Vyasadeva who's compiling the Bhagavatam, compiling all scriptures pretty much, but is Bhagavatam also compiled in every Chaturyuga? That's one of the questions.
Yes, Bhagavatam is compiled in every Chaturyuga. That's right.
Okay. Just that the stories would be slightly different. Is that the understanding?
Absolutely. That is very true. This Bhagavatam is special. Usually the number of verses remain the same, but the stories may differ, certainly, because that's being compiled by a different Vyasa. So one of the speciality of this Bhagavatam, which we have for current Yuga, Chatur Yuga, is that Narayana himself has compiled it. And that's how it's extraordinarily, special, sweet. Shukadev has spoken it. Even the speakers may differ in the other ages. In the other Chatur Yugas, Shukadev doesn't have to be speaker. And similarly, Narayana is not the Vyasadeva there. He may be Shaktavesh avatar or some other sage, like Parashar becomes Vyasadeva also. Jaratkaru becomes Vyasadeva. Next Vyasadeva is Ashwatthama. He becomes the next Vyasadeva. So like that it is. So that's how this Bhagavatam is glorified as very special. Very special.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. The other question is, if Shukadev Goswami went back home when he was called, the version that he heard is the version which Vyasadev, because Vyasadev has compiled everything thinking about the future, that Shukadev Goswami is going to go and speak the Bhagavatam to Parikshit. So is that the version Shukadev himself heard when he went back and learned Bhagavatam from Vyasadev?
Yes, yes. This is second canto. Second canto directly says this thing, that once Vyasadev compiled this revised edition, then he taught it to his own son. Or even here, the verse which I showed you, 178, it says, Sa Shukam Adhyapayamasa. He taught this revised version to Shukadeva. So this is again corroborated in the second canto also, where Krishna says that, where not Krishna says, but the sages say that, or rather Parikshit says there. Parikshit says that, please speak that Bhagavatam which was spoken or which was taught by Vyasadev to Shuka. And that's how Shukadev Goswami, he begins to explain. So actually, yes, Shukadev was taught the entire Bhagavatam right from Janmad Yasya Yaton Vayad all the way up to Tam Namami Harim Param. Vishwanath Chakravarti even quotes these two verses and says anything that is lying in between these two verses was taught to Shukadev.
Yeah, even about him talking to Parikshit. Yeah.
Even about. Yeah, so now what transpired between Shukadev and Parikshit? See, this is interesting now. What transpired between Shukadev and Parikshit, we don't say that every single verse that Vyasadev taught to Shukadev, he must have spoken that to Parikshit. No, we don't say that. See, we know the version of Bhagavatam that we have is given by Vyasadev. Now, it will be logically difficult to understand, right? That why would Parikshit, or rather, why would Shukadev speak about arrival of Shukadev Goswami? That chapter of 19th chapter of first canto. Why would he speak that to Parikshit? It is about himself. And what's the point in talking about that? So, I have seen that the traditional Bhagavatam scholars from our own Sampradaya also, one thing is very clear, that the version we have of Bhagavatam is of Vyasadev, in which he has obviously kept those verses intact which Shukadev spoke and all that. But we don't have to say that Shukadev also spoke right from first verse all the way up to the last verse, everything there. Because so many things of that, they may not be needed to be spoken to Parikshit. Why would he speak all those things? So Shukadev spoke the same content. Probably it was not 18,000 verses. It was lesser than that or more than that. It depends. Nobody comments on that. Jiva Goswami only comments saying, whatever transpired between Shuka and Parikshit or Sut Goswami and Naimisharanya sages, the version of that we have received is 18,000 verses. And that is Vyasadev's version. Right.
Thank you, Prabhu. I'll pass it on.
Yeah, that's it, right? Satyam Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, I had one question. Like when Vyasadev was running for Sukdev Goswami in the forest, right? And like when Sukdev Goswami left house, but Vyasadev he didn't have any attachment to family or anything like that, right? So how come he was crying for his son and has that kind of attachment?
Very nice. Oh. There are 4 different explanations given by acharyas on that. When that verse will come, Jiva Goswami gives one explanation, Vishwanath Chakravarti gives 2 explanations, Sridhar Swami gives 1 explanation on why Vyasadev called out to his son. Putreti tanmayataya tarabobhinedus tam sarvabhutardhayam munimanatosmi. Putreti, putra, he called out. This is first canto, second chapter. verse number 2, 1 to 2. I think it must be 1 to 2. So you can read the commentary of this by Vishwanath Chakravarti. All of you have the files of Vishwanath Chakravarti and Jiva Goswami's commentary translations. Do you have or you don't have? Oh, okay. You should all have this because these will be very important for study of Bhakti Vaibhava. So if Bhakti Priti Vilasini Mataji, if you have, please share with them. Or,
Sure, Prabhu.
Yeah. Because many references, if I give and then you want to go and read in detail, you may do so. It will be very helpful. So, anyway, why did Vyasadeva call out? Vyasadeva called out because Shukdev was such a child, bedecked with such beautiful qualities and so attractive, filled with his spiritual qualities. Vyasadeva did not want to miss the association of such a wonderful personality. Vyasadev's attachment is not mundane attachment at all. It is completely transcendental. In fact, you can imagine, right? Vishwanath Chakravarti says, the trees felt separation. So why do you wonder if Vyasadeva felt separation? If the trees are feeling separation, they are sort of saying, Putra, Putra, Putra. So you talk about his father. Why will he not feel the spiritual emotions? Vyasadeva was broken-hearted. He could not believe that such a beautiful personality, such a noble personality, such a virtuous personality, that too blessed by Lord Krishna, he is going away. So he was broken-hearted, and that's why he called out. This is one reason. Another reason is also to show the aspect of attachment, for loka shiksha, in order to show to the people. It's interesting. Vyasadeva called out, Putra, O son, O son. So Shukdev says to the trees that you also call out Putra, Putra. So Shukdev is in a way answering to Vyasadeva, if you call me Putra, I will also call you as Putra. Who is father, who is son? You are calling me as son? Whose son I am? If you call me as son, I will also call you as son. Because we are sons of the Supreme Lord. That's how. In order to teach this principle to the other people, you don't have to teach to Vyasadeva. He is Narayan himself. But through Narayana, Shukadeva is teaching Loka Shikshartham. So it is interesting. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti says that Shukadev's answering Putra, Putra through the trees was in order to drive home the point that Ke kasya putradya shoka, what is that? Moha eva karanam. Actually, who is father and who is son? Right? In this world, father may call his son as son, but actually, who is father, who is son? Krishna is the supreme father. Krishna is the only father. So that's why in order to drive home that point also, this episode is arranged. More reasons are there. We'll see. You can see when that verse comes. I can go on, but I also respect your time. All that. Lalita Mataji, and maybe we can pause today.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the enlightening class. Is Shukdev Goswami, is Radharani's parrot in the Golok?
Yeah, I was expecting. Yeah, I was expecting this question from someone. Good that you asked. Is Shukadev Radharani's parrot? Okay, the idea is very popular in Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Many devotees say it, many even big devotees say it, sannyasis also. But it is not mentioned in any scripture actually. Shukadev being Radharani's parrot is not substantiated in any scriptures. So this idea, although spoken by many, but it somehow lacks the Shastric support. So we have not seen, and like I am part of Shastric Advisory Council, where there are also many other learned devotees. And we have checked with so many of them. And at least we don't have any substantial proof that Shukadev is Radharani's parrot. The idea is fondly spoken even in Gaudiya Math and some other groups of Gaudiya Vaishnavas, but if you ask a scripture, it doesn't say any such thing. Brahma Vaivarta Puran also, the story begins directly from Shukadev becoming, or rather Vyasadev's wife becoming pregnant with Shukadev. That's it. So there are different stories which seem to be getting merged with each other. And there is a story, I think, which became popular from Krishna Kathamrit Bindu, where, Lord Shiva, he was speaking. Yeah, Lord Shiva was talking to Parvati Bhagavatam, and then Shuka heard, and then the bird was flying and entered into Vyasadev's wife's womb. But then, yeah, that story is also sort of, that story lacks the scriptural quote exactly. Where is it mentioned? That particular thing. So it's a popular story in Puri and there also. But as far as I have seen, and we have done some research on this topic, but I have not come across this proof of scripture. So previously I also spoke this idea, but then once I came to know about this fact that it is not mentioned by any of the acharyas, so then I started keeping myself away from that idea that Shukadev is Radharani's parrot. So if there is some Shastra Praman, we will accept. But as far as I have seen, and I have seen also with extensive research that the devotees have done, it seems that there is no Praman for it.
Thank you, Prabhu.
All right, we should pause here. Let's meet on Wednesday. Tuesday for you. Correct. Thank you. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
His Grace Kanai Krishna Prabhu ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you,